1,000 throws. That's enough to see patterns, enough to smell bias, enough to sniff out which faces think they are nobles and which live in goblin gutters. This isn't just a roll, it's a map of chaos, and Goblin will chart it for you. Welcome to the den, my fellow goblins. Today's shiny, ivory white, pale as old bone, but look closer, splattered with a crimson, like someone bled right over it, each drop frozen in time. Some droplets even cover the numbers, as if blood itself wants to hide the truth. A cursed heirloom? Or just hungry decoration? But bloodstains don't tell whole story, only numbers do. Let's peel back the splatter and see what the shiny really hides in Goblin's math. 1,000 rolls, 20 hungry faces. Here's the spread. Some stuffed their bellies, others stuffed 16s, gorged themselves 60 times. Gluttons of the shiny banquet, 3s and 8s went far behind, strutting like peacocks. But poor 17th? Only 36 scraps, a famine, a tragedy, even 6s soaked barely sin. Yet 9s and 20s stood balanced, like monks keeping order in chaos. This, fellow goblins, is a dance of numbers. Spread alone is not enough. We need fire, we need frost, we need the map of sizzling stone. The map burns red on the hot faces, fades to white on the cold. Look here. A flaming hot spot near this vertex, but right next to it, a freezing cold face. Was it just curse with bad luck? 5 triangles meet here, all quite warm, except 17 again. Icy cold. Maybe 17 just hates me. What did Goblin ever do to you, huh? We've seen spread, we've seen sizzling stoneman. It's time for a wobble. And the wobble ain't too crazy. Overall, stiffs as Paladin's conscience. Relax, lad. Not every orphan needs rescuing. Not every undead outbreak needs smiting. But here's the wobble max. 6, 16, and 17. They stick out, twisting the shiny like a bad stew. Not broken, just stubborn. Goblin's claws twitch with every roll, but wobble is just numbers. And a goblin is quite bored. It's time to see them racing. Watch the shiny stampede. 20s shot out first, keeping a lead after 200 rolls. 15s breathing down their necks. Then 16s and 4s muscle in, holding top spot still 3/4 through. The finish? Chaos. 10s burst out of nowhere. 19 sprinted like mad. 4 rolled down. 16 first, 10 second, 8 and 3 tied for third. A crowd fighting for the finish line. But sometimes the shiny gives us its brightest window. The best 100 rolls. Here, 20s doubled their expected presence, dragging 15s with them. Together, they shone like champions, carrying the banner of best 100, a feast of crits, a table of victory. If you rolled here, you'd kiss the shiny and call it blessed. But not every tale is feast. Sometimes the shiny feed you scraps. In a pit of despair, 20s showed up only as expected. No gift, no glory, 1s, 2s, and 3s, though? Far too many. Crawling all over the place. 7s, 8s, 9s joining too, making sure Misery had plenty of company. The teens? Lazy, barely lifting a finger. If you rolled here, you'd think Goblin cursed the table by listening to the wobble's final voice. See it clear. Positive wobble where luck shines, 15s and 20s punching high. Negative wobble where misery rots, 1s, 2s and 17s sinking deep. If wobble were sound, this shiny would shout one word. BONK! Okay, we did the hard work. Charts, chewed and sped out. Now, time for story. And a bit of chill. Grab yourself a stew, a nail, and sit down, Goblin. I will tell ya the terrifying tale of blood, shiny stones, and one very picky creature. The night was thick as star, and in the silence of the forest, the only sound was the crackle of a dying fire. A goblin sat by the flames, hunched over his greatest treasure. With reverence, he let his rolling stones slip through his fingers, one by one. Then the silence deepened, and the shadows around the fire stretched unnaturally long. From between the trees emerged a figure, tall, slender, with a face pale and gleaming in the moonlight. Its movements were far too fluid to belong to a human.
Oh, look at this,
came an elegant, velvety voice.
What a peculiar little creature wanders alone in the darkness.
The goblin jumped, clutching his sack of stone to his chest. His clawed hand snatched up a rusty fork, which in his grip pretended to be a knife. The stranger raised his hands in a calming gesture and stepped closer. His smile was gentle, perhaps even polite, yet hunger smouldered in his crimson eyes.
Calm yourself, darling,
he whispered almost tenderly.
I mean you no harm. On the contrary, I see you keep quite a fine collection, and I thought perhaps you'd like to add something truly exceptional to it.
From his long, pale fingers slipped a stone, gleaming in the firelight like an enchanted crystal, its surface shimmering with silvery hues. The goblin's eyes widened into saucers. An exceptional stone, he muttered, licking his lips.
Oh, I see I have your attention.
The vampire chuckled softly, tilting his head like a cat.
I was right, wasn't I? You won it. All it takes is a simple exchange.
The goblin swallowed hard, staring at the dazzling jewel. And what does the bat want for such a shiny thing? The vampire's smile curved into something sly, his fangs catching the firelight.
Darling, all I desire is a taste of your blood.
The goblin hesitated, obviously. But his fear was wrestling with greedy curiosity. Will it hurt? He asked timidly.
You will feel nothing.
Promised the vampire, his tone as smooth as velvet, yet unsettling.
I'll be ever so delicate.
He leaned in, his shadow swallowing the goblin whole. The vampire inhaled deeply, drawing the scent into his lungs as though savoring the bouquet of a fine wine. And then his face twisted in a violent grimace. A fit of coughing tore from his chest. His eyes welled with tears and his body convulsed with disgust.
Ooh, how vile!
He spat, choking.
I had imagined many things, but this I cannot endure. Your blood is an insult to the palate.
The goblin stared in shock. Well, goblin knows his smell, but not that much. He mumbled helplessly. The vampire staggered back, turned away, then paused, as though torn by some inner conflict. His gaze flicked once more to the goblin, madness gleaming in his eyes.
No! Never! In all my life! No! You reek of rotten cabbage!
With a snarl, he hurled the glittering stone to the ground, as if its very weight defiled his hands. A moment later, his figure dissolved into the darkness, leaving behind only the echo of the scornful voice. The goblin stared into the void, then dove for the stone, clutching it to his chest. He hugged it tightly and let out a triumphant giggle. He didn't know whether he had been spared or rejected, but he had his shiny treasure, and that was what mattered most. So, goblins, after the math, the wobble, and the tail, we must carve it into stone, or board. The Great Goblin Dice Report Card. This shiny crits perfectly fine, 50 20s, just as expected. Let's give it a solid 5. Rolliness. Flows fair with a cheeky lean, like stew that's tasty but a bit salty. 6. Charismaticness. 7. Blood spots give it flair, but not all goblins will fall in love with it. Fortitude. 7. Not cursed, not saintly, wobbles but behaves enough to keep its place at the table. Oh, you want the chi-square result? Fine, but first, smash that subscribe button. Harder! See? Easy. Now, the secret. Our shiny scored 18. The critical values 27.2. Just under the curse line, which means this goblin's dice is still fair. Fair enough for math. Fair enough for games, so go on, subscribe and keep rolling fair with me. Oh, I almost forgot. The Great Goblin objective score. We give it 7. When you roll it, you feel like you took some sacrifice before. Yeah, feels nice. So goblins, this concludes our gathering. Until next time, may your crits be plenty, your goblins green-wide, and your shinies always roll true. Goodbye, my fellow goblins. Till the next clatter.